I think at that point my dad was raising like 10,000 heifer calves at one time.
That's a bunch.
Yeah, so like I grew up.
Episode 7. Welcome to the Walkthrough Podcast.
Glad to be here.
Thank you. It's just a little bit of a production here.
It's a nice setup. I like it.
Thanks. Well, so yeah, welcome to the show. We're going to talk about timber, talk about framing, talk about, hopefully you can tell us some stories on Kevin. But for our,
Hopefully not too bad.
our watchers,
I don't know any stories on Kevin.
oh, that's not true. So Tommy is one of the crew chiefs at KNH and has turned into the timber specialist. But anyway, yeah, thanks for joining.
Glad to be here.
Yeah.
I don't know about specialist, but I like to dabble, I guess, in timber.
I would say you're more than dabbling.
Who's more of a specialist than you at this point?
I mean, there's a lot of YouTubers. They're probably a little bit better than me, but I do pretty good, I guess.
Yeah.
In our world,
You're never a specialist until you're retired, right?
Oh, then you're a consultant.
Because you're always learning and still while you're working, right?
Yes.
So,
That's right. So Kevin and Tommy do a great job of deflecting compliments. Like this whole show is just going to be like, no, you guys are good. No. Yeah.
yeah, I don't
Hey,
know. I like this building. Who built it?
yeah. Hadn't fallen down. It's like,
we're gonna get there. So what do you guys? Well, shoot, we'll get into it. What's your backstory, Tommy? Who are you? Where are you from?
Well, I was born in California. My dad was always raised baby calves from, I don't know, since I was born, he raised baby calves. And then when all the dairies left Southern California and moved to, I guess that'd be eastern New Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
we followed them. And whenever I was 5 years old, we moved to Lovington, New Mexico. And then I think at that point, my dad was raising like 10,000 heifer calves at one time.
That's a bunch.
Yeah, so like I grew up, I remember I was like 5 years old driving an old 920 Caterpillar around, like couldn't reach the pedals, but you didn't need to because it didn't have brakes anyways. You just pushed the gear shift forward and back, right? So I've been driving stuff since I could walk pretty much, right? So
So there's 10,000 at one time head of cattle. How many siblings do you have? Like, was it just you and your dad? Is it you got a bunch of brothers?
yeah, my brother's 2 years younger than me, pretty much almost exactly 2 years. And then my sister, she's like 10 years younger than us, so she came in way later down the road. But yeah, it was mainly me and my dad, and we had like 10 helpers, 10 people helping. So
That's cool.
Was it the kind that had the shed? Like you had to have the sheds, like every.
We had like 3 calves in every hutch. We built all our hutches too, so like we'd have this massive. Like we think that skill saw that I have is pretty big, that 16-incher. Yeah, this one had like a 48-inch saw on it. You set the whole bundle on this rack and just cut them all.
And just because you already had a template, you're just
and you just throw them in this little template and you're throwing calf pins together. We used to have to build.
You would cut an entire bundle of lumber?
I'd probably cut like half of it at one time, but you just literally throw it up there because you needed like half this bundle for this part for those hutches, right? Because you'd make the floors, you'd make the whole calf hutch, everything. So it was fun. Like that's technically where I got my start to framing, I guess, was building calf hutches.
yes.
I was 5 years old and I was driving the Caterpillar and then building hutches.
Then we started framing.
Yeah.
So you started framing younger than me.
Yeah, I guess.
So hey.
Yeah, but it took a long hiatus in the middle, I guess.
Well, still you still holding the award on that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so okay, Lovington, and then what happened? Like you were in high school. How'd you get out of the cattle business?
Well, I think it was right around middle school. My dad got out of the calf business, and we started a dairy. So for the longest time, we had like 100 cows, just trying to make ends meet. Like we had land, so we were farming. We were making our own hay. We were, growing corn, do corn silage, all that stuff. Pretty much did that all the way until I graduated high school, and about that time I was done with that whole life for a little while because it was every day after school you go milk, every day before school you got to go feed the calves. You know what I mean? So it was a lot of work involved in that.
I don't know. I'm a kid of suburbia, so like I hear stories and I've experienced days at a time. But to think about, like, you grew up on a dairy. You grew up, like, not even chores. Like, this is work. If this doesn't get done, things fall apart.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing it since I was 5, and I didn't get a single paycheck till I turned, stop working for my dad at 18? I got a paycheck. I did get a truck, though, when I turned 16, so technically there's my payment.
Yes.
So
A lot of work.
Yeah, free and clear for one pickup, I guess.
Free and clear, and all the food you could eat.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It helped out in football, too. You know, carrying 2 calves out of a pen helps you get pretty strong pretty fast.
Yes.
Running from mama cows, that happens a lot.
Oh, man.
So you became quick
Yeah.
and strong.
Yeah.
What position did you play?
Tight end, middle linebacker.
Okay. My brother-in-law was he was an outside linebacker, and he went and ended up playing at Louisiana Tech. And I would not want to mess with any linebacker of any sort.
Yeah, must have been faster than me. I just like to run into smashing things. So yeah, we graduated high school, and I got a real job. Was what I thought was, anyways. I worked in Oldfield because Lovington was a big time Oldfield town. So I worked on like a nipple up crew, which built like the BOPs. Because I didn't think I was going to go to college. I was like, I'm just going to take a summer off, take a semester off, and just go and make some money. You know, do something different, because I'd been stuck doing the same thing for so long. And then I realized, I got an academic scholarship. I can just go for free. Let's just do that. So I went and moved from Lovington to Portales, New Mexico, and spent like 2 semesters there. And I was like, this school is not for me.
Yeah, that's a lot of people have said that about Portales.
Yeah. Played football up there too for a little while, and then I just realized that's just not for me. So,
what university is in Portales?
Eastern
New Mexico State.
The Greyhounds.
Yeah.
How big are they?
They were the same as Tarleton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're Division II. They were in the Lone Star Conference with Tarleton.
Oh,
for
okay, so
years.
But they were itty bitty. I think they were like half the size of Tarleton. I think like there was nobody there. Like
Okay.
they were tiny.
Yeah, that's great. So, how did you? Again, with the deflections of like, I'm not going to go to school, and wait, no, I guess I can get a scholarship because of my academics. Like, how did that come about? Where you're like, no, I'm not going to school, and then all of a sudden, wait, no, there's this money available.
Well, no, I mean you get like the senioritis, right? Like you're in high school or whatever, and you get senioritis, and like I don't want to do this for a while, right?
Yeah.
And then like I got out of school, and I was already making really good money. Like I was making $1,000 a week easy.
Yeah.
Just working the Oldfield. But then they moved me from like I was working with this one crew to another crew, and there was a whole bunch of druggies on that crew, and I was like, dude, I don't want to deal with this. And the guy's like, well, we need you on there to help run things. I'm like, no, I don't want to be on this crew.
Yeah.
That's a bad situation. I want out of this, right?
Yes.
So I was like, I'm just going to go to school. And then you go to school, and there's all that crap too. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing this no more. You know?
Yeah.
So that's whenever I left that, and I called my grandpa up, and I said, hey, can I come live with y'all for a little while?
And that was in California, right? Okay.
Yeah, so I packed up everything and moved to California for, I don't know how long I was here. 2 years, maybe. At least till I turned 21. I remember turning 21 in California.
What did you not like it there?
What?
Or why'd you end up moving back? Did you not like it in California?
Well, it was I was literally renting a room inside a cousin's friend's mom's house for like $1,000 a month.
Good, yeah. So it's like
So Southern California.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We were Southern California, about an hour south of LA. So it was.
Oh shoot, that's
Just
like Laguna Beach area.
Well, Chino, California is where we were.
Okay.
But that's technically where my dad moved to whenever he graduated high school. Was he moved to Chino because that's where all the dairies were, right? When I was there was still a couple of dairies, and there were some that were selling off, and they were selling for like $10 million an acre, something like that, Kevin. Like something crazy, right? And those dairies, they're 200-300 acres. Right?
That's payday.
Yeah, so they're moving and buying up whole parcels, multiple parcels in the panhandle of Texas, right? So they just go up there. But it was fun. Like I enjoyed my time. It was because I never really got to spend a lot of time with all my cousins. Like I had one cousin that lived in Portales, and she was 10 years older than me. so we didn't really hang out much, right? But
Yeah.
on my mom's side of the family, I had 8 cousins that were within 5, 6 years of me.
Peer range.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're at the same phase of life,
Yeah.
kind of.
I mean, I had one that was older and everybody else was younger, but it was still like they're all in the same place within 2 miles of each other. Everybody's right there, right? So it was
So it
nice
makes
to
Oh,
it
go to
fun.
like hang out with your cousins and go and do stuff.
Family. Cousins are a special relationship for everybody.
Yeah.
It's like your brother and sister who you can't get away from, but you want to see your cousin.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the same here with my family or my cousins.
Yeah.
So
Do you have a bunch of cousins?
I don't know how many. I had a family get together. If everybody showed up, it's like 70 people.
Oh, man.
Like aunts, uncles, cousins. But
I bet I have 20 cousins. My
I
mom
bet
is one
it's-
of 5. My dad's one of 6, and everybody had a
there
lot
was
of kids.
14 or 16 like grandchildren. And now that, because I guess, I guess let me back this up. There's like probably 16 actually like first cousins, and then now they're stacking down. So
Man, I got Latin in my blood, so if you're a friend long enough, then you just evolve into cousins. So
Yes.
like, first cousin, second cousin, I don't know. But
so when did you come back from California or
That was my dad sold our dairy in Lovington. So he pretty much cashed out all his money, his land, everything like that, and just bought a whole bunch of cows. And we actually rented a place in Pecos, Texas for
did you eat some melons?
4 months. It was the worst 4 months of my life.
Yeah, I framed a hotel there. Remember that when
Yeah.
I was down there? That place is.
We had scorpions coming out of the ceiling at that house we were staying at.
I never had the
You'd be laying in
scorpions.
bed and look up, and there's a scorpion hanging right above your head. You're like, nope, don't like this place at all.
No, I didn't have this. I didn't know about this. I didn't have the scorpion situation, but it was just not. It was just a hellhole of a place. Like, sorry, anybody that's from there, but Lord,
So what? Yeah. What? Okay, he bought all the cattle. Was in Pecos, just renting a place.
Yeah, it was a big dairy, big carousel dairy, right? We had 300 milking cows at that time. Maybe it was 500, I think. It was like 500 cows. Anyways, a big carousel dairy. It was a nice dairy, but there wasn't any water. So, like, to get water, you had to, like, there was 4 wells pumping in this one tank, but for some reason, 2 of the wells weren't working, and my dad didn't know that. So it was only 2 pumps pumping in. And I guess another well went down, so then there was only 1 well. So there was like never any water. In a dairy, you need a lot of water. You got to wash everything down. You got all those cows that got to drink. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of water required, and he couldn't supply it. So my dad, as soon as that happened, within a couple days, he was driving this direction. Ended up in a dairy in Hyco.
Okay.
So we rented right off of 281. There was a little dairy right there that he was able to rent. So we packed all our stuff out of Pecos and moved over here. First time I saw it was that 15 years ago, I guess, when I moved to Hyco.
Oh, okay.
That's cool. And you've been working for Kevin for what, 10 years, something like that?
11 years, something like that.
That's cool. How did you two hook up?
My wife.
Was it well, I remember Darville talked to me first, or I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. So my wife's grandmother married Darville Hutchins, which is a builder we work for. And prior to me working for Kevin, I'd worked in the oil field. Like, I've done all kinds of stuff, like random stuff all the time. But anyways, Darville said, I just finished a project for a guy in Rising Star over there, just doing random stuff after I left the oil field, just to try to make some money.
Yeah.
And he's like, I was finishing up. He's like, what are you going to do now? I said, I don't know. I might go start trying to hang Christmas lights or something. Just trying to make some money right now. He's like, we should call Northcutt. He might have a job for you. So I called him up and no answer. Okay, that's
the story of my life. I could call him at least 10 times a day. He's like, nope.
yeah.
Nope.
So I think I called him once, called him twice within a week, no answer like that. And I saw Darville again, I guess. It had been around Christmas time, I guess, because I was doing around that time. And Darville, I said, did he ever call you? I said, no, I never heard nothing back from him. So he's like, I'm going to call him right now. So he called him up. I don't know when it was. And he goes, I guess you can go to San Angelo. I was like, well, great. I guess I'll go to San Angelo, I guess. And I still hadn't met him. I
Yeah,
talked to him on the,
I can give him he can swing a hammer on my crew. That's fine. Yeah.
I still had never met Kevin before that. I think I talked to you on the phone
Yeah.
for 15 minutes. It's like, yeah, go work for my brother in San Angelo. And then
And then,
next week I was in San Angelo, stay there for the whole week, come home. I was like, well, this ain't going to work for very long. But
how long were you down there for? How long did we?
6-7 months probably.
Yeah, I think
Oh my gosh, that was
It was
a
a
big
lot.
project.
No,
it
we were
was-
doing houses.
Oh,
It was literally a street. And you'd build this house, you'd go to the next one, build that house. Go to the next one, build that house. Go to the next one, build that house. So you're just like going right down the street, just building houses.
that was a good
So-
contract to get. That's a framer.
So for me not ever framing before, that was perfect.
Yeah, because it was repetition, lots of repetition.
No, you started framing at 5. Don't lie to
No,
me.
yeah.
Don't lie to me.
I forgot BS.
Yeah, well, that was different. Like, I never cut a single rafter in my life until I cut one for Matt.
Okay.
And the reason why I did that is I got tired of Matt cutting them wrong. And I had to go back down there and cut them again. Sorry, Matt.
No. This is great fuel for Kevin. He's like,
Yeah,
come on, Matt.
exactly. Yeah, I'll have to get Matt up in here and harass him a little bit, rag him a little bit. But
So what was that like? Like all of a sudden, I mean, clearly you have known hard work in your life and consistency, but did you like framing? I mean, you're
Yeah.
still doing it?
I mean, it was fun. Like, you can be able to build stuff with his hands. I always had building things with my hands is always fun, right?
Yeah.
Especially growing up having to fix your own equipment all the time. Like, doing that kind of stuff, always enjoyed. Like, fixing stuff, framing stuff, building things. So framing was just kind of a natural go-to kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah. At this point, you think that you prefer tinkering with motors and mechanics, or do you like carpentry with wood?
It's kind of both, I guess. Like, I've got to be in the like to work on a car. I got to be in the right mindset because I don't want to rush it through, right? Like, I want to take my time, make sure it's done right. I don't want to do it twice. So framing, I kind of you can get in there one day and just start just blowing some nails and some stuff. Look what I did.
Yeah.
Right?
yeah.
So it's a whole different animal, I think, when you think about the two. Of course, timber's opposite of that because you can't.
There's no recuts.
No, when you're talking about a $10,000 beam, you don't want to screw that one up.
No,
I've done that.
So, okay, you were
it wasn't 10,000, but it was.
It was 4 of them, wasn't it? So it worked equal to 10, I think.
Which one was? Where was? Which one was
Those
that? One?
arched beams in Bayard.
Oh, yeah. That was like
That's about $10,000. I think.
Yeah, it was. I forgot about that one.
Sorry, Kevin.
Yeah, well, it's part of.
Kevin?
I don't remember how you brought it up. I don't remember how it got brought up. I was like, well, all right, it's done. And whatever happened to those beams?
They sold them and then they gave us some crappy OVLs in replacement. Remember?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Because it all started like, oh, don't worry about it, we'll pay for it. And then it turned out, y'all gonna have to pay for half. And then like 2 weeks later, it was like, you got to pay for the whole thing.
Yes.
And then Kevin goes, where's my beams at? And they're like, oh, we already sold those. So like, where's my beams?
Yeah, because I was like, because Tommy was like, "Hey, Kevin, did they back charge you?" And I was like, "Yes, they did." This whole, he goes, "Well, the beams aren't here no more." And I was like, "Well, if we're being back charged,
Yeah, give me the beams.
like we're gonna go build something cool with them because there were some nice
Like curved beams.
Oh, yeah, they
So-
were.
Curved land beams, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, land. Okay. I was thinking like natural timber. I was like, how do you steam beams to?
No, they
no,
were.
no.
I mean, they were custom arched land beams, is what they were.
in this huge like rotunda area, like
That's
in the middle of this house. But it was cool looking. But yeah,
Would you just short it just a bit where it couldn't land?
I don't remember
I
how.
don't remember who to blame on this one.
Mike, blame Mike.
All I know is there was Cliff wouldn't work for me then, was he?
I don't remember. I think he was. There's a house in Bayard.
I don't remember him being there in Baird. I know I had Manny and I had Hunter was definitely there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Hunter's fault.
We'll
Yeah.
dive on him.
Freaking Hunter. Yeah.
Yeah, no, there was a discrepancy on how we measured up top because I had 2 guys up top measuring the opening to cut these round beams because,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got to be pretty precise because I had to drop. I literally had to pick them up inside this other lane beams to make it fit, and it needed to be precise. Well, somebody said 21. It was supposed to be 22. We're not talking, 22 feet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they were a little short both sides. We I was looking at SkyTrack picking one up, and it's like getting all nice and pretty. And I look over at the other guy. I'm like, That's not right.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are not good calls. Like SIA talk. Okay, we got a problem.
Yeah.
I'm like,
And it's not like we could shrink the hallway, like the thing, because it ran straight through the middle of the building. So it was.
yeah, and I think there was like some red iron. Wasn't
Yeah,
it
there
sitting
was-
on some red iron?
yeah,
Anyway,
we
it was
could
all
not-
like there was no.
No take backs.
No, there was no. We had to order some new ones.
So, okay, Tommy starts working for you. You ship him to San Angelo to work with your brother, who's Matt.
Mm-hmm.
And how quickly did you start understanding Tommy's skill set and just being like, oh, no, this guy, he's a leader. He can run a crew. Like, how quickly before, like, Tommy's
I don't
my guy?
remember because I pretty quick after or not. I mean, we realized. I mean, out the gate, I realized. Okay, he shows up every day. You know, you kind of like, okay, hey, you. Which by I'm not.
number one.
That's not like to. But you realize, okay, he's responsible. He's all those, and he's got common sense and checking all these boxes. And then it was like, hey, he needed to come home because didn't you get married?
Yeah.
That's when you got married. He was like, "Hey, I gotta come. Like, I don't want to travel anymore." So I was okay, cool. And then and then just kind of, I mean, I don't really know where. It was just kind of like he was just started taking control and taking it by the
Probably
hand.
the fact that he saw, Matt was never there, and I was running his crew for him. At
Yes.
That point. Yeah.
Yeah, so were you even
Oh,
working
I
for
forgot-
Kevin?
yeah.
Or were you working for Matt? Or were you and
I'm
Matt
pretty
doing
sure
that
my
together?
check came from KNH.
Yeah, it was from me. Yeah. Matt worked. Matt was down there framing, and then Matthew worked for KNH, and then you worked. I paid you direct, and then he just basically moved back to Stephenville.
That probably helped too. That I started buying my own tools. So like I had a pretty much whole truckload of my tools.
Yeah.
And then because I remember him being like, Kevin, these guys are raiding my box. I don't remember he got real frustrated
So
because
mad. Like, get out of my truck.
Absolutely.
he'd have the good stuff.
Yeah,
The good-
I have all the brand new tools in my truck that I use for my time. Right. If you want new tools, go buy your own.
Whoa. Too much to ask of me.
Well, technically, I should have but the stuff gets destroyed. Well, I mean, it's like the guys don't care. So
Not
you buy
theirs.
stuff, they don't care, and then they were like, they didn't care,
Patron's got more money. He'll just buy
and
more
then
tools.
and then they'd be like, hey Tommy, I want your nail gun or your saw, that wasn't been dropped
But
3
it wasn't.
times.
It wasn't like I just went out and bought a bunch of tools. Right. Like I got tired of having this busted gun that everybody else was like just throwing around. I go, all right, this is my gun. Don't touch it. Right. So this gun works. I knew I could work all day long, and I don't have to worry about it. Right. And then go to another job, and we have one coal gun in the truck. Well, there's 6,000 foot of tongue groove we got to put down. This is going to take forever. I said, hey, let me run to Abilene real quick. I'll go grab a nail gun, and I'll come back.
Yeah, it's
Right?
like,
Yeah, because I can't do it anyway because we
Yeah,
only have
I
one
can't-
gun.
I can't
Yeah.
help anyways. Just let me go get a nail gun. I'll be right back. So
it wasn't the well-oiled machine that you see today. It was not always. It was a little bit rocky at times. The
You don't
KNH,
say.
So Tommy was in the beginnings of the. He got to witness a lot of wreckage.
stories about some of those hands in San Angelo. Holy cow!
It's a special class of people.
I don't know if that's podcast worthy conversation.
Maybe like after we develop a following, we'll have like a B-roll. We'll
Of
have,
like, it's
the
like-
dark side. Of
Yes.
stories.
This is definitely a wreckage podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the wreckage. We'll say that for the wreckage.
Yeah.
The
I love it. So
Yes.
what are your favorite kind of projects? So you started, just repeating these homes. Then now KNH does a lot of luxury homes and like high-end framing. And then you're kind of a specialist within that of doing timber. And like, what are your favorite projects to work on?
Spec houses are probably not my forte because I get bored.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the same thing. Cookie cutters, throw it up real fast. What does it matter? Well, I don't need to be here. I mean, that's what my thoughts on it.
Yeah.
What am I doing over here? Like, get somebody else over here to do this thing, right? I mean, it's nice to give the guys the break, which also kind of kicks me in the butt because my guys don't learn like I learned, right? Because they're not trained on that daily,
Yeah.
just constant going, right? Like my jobs will be there for 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
So you frame walls for the first 2 weeks, and you don't do it again for 4 more months. So like you don't
Yeah.
have that repetition to get. Why'd you do that? And I get mad at my guys. Like, why are you doing this for? Like, but I always forget they haven't had that repetition that I had when I started.
Yeah.
So I can't. It's hard.
hard to get upset with them.
Yeah, it's hard to
about
get
it.
upset, right? Like you could put them into this crazy house and they can figure it out because they've done and they've seen, you know what I mean? But they can't. They're going to miss a couple of little steps in the middle, like that
Yeah.
I overlooked because I've done, I laid out for them too much or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I've taken too much of their learning processes out of it at some point, right?
And when you're saying layout, that's popping the chalk lines and like drawing the walls on the.
like actually putting the marks on the boards.
Okay.
You know,
Like for joists and rafters and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like putting joists and rafters in place, like knowing where they need to go for when my calculator pops up all the numbers. I know they literally fall into place, right?
Right.
So that's more of my fault kind of thing, I guess. But I mean, I've never had anybody just walk up and ask me either. You know, like, hey, show me how to do this. You know.
Yes.
Oh, that's initiative. It's also hard to come by.
Yeah.
So, okay, is that if you're running a framing crew, how many guys are legit know what they're doing? Is it just the one leader, and then
No.
everybody else just kind of?
I mean, everybody on the framing crew knows. It just the extent of their knowledge. It's not. It's when it's the more experience you have, the faster you come up with the answer, right? Like anybody on that framing crew could probably figure out a solution for that problem. It's the experience that gives you, hey, this builder likes it this way, so let's do it this way, so that way he's happy in the end, and we get the problem solved, right?
Right, before it even comes up.
Yeah,
And also an
because-
initiative. Some guys you will find. I mean, we have. We'll be talking and they won't take initiative. They just want to be like, hey, I just stop, put the nail gun on my belt, and just wait for you to tell me.
Yeah, wait for
And
patrol
you're
to
like,
tell
I
me.
mean, we've done this 10 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, but initiative. I think part of it's initiative and also too knowing, like you said, the particulars of each contract.
Yeah, I mean, because there's all kinds of ways to skin a cat, right? Like, there's all kinds of ways to solve a single problem on a job site. It just depends on the outcome that it's going to happen or the amount of time it's going to take to get to that, right?
And then like you said, so we have certain builders that want a certain. It's like you said, there's no right or wrong on it. It's just that's
This
the way they
aesthetic or
they
this.
just want it this way.
Yeah. When they walk up and look at it, they're like, why did he do it like that? You know? Like
Yeah.
some builders used to be framers. You know that this guy's going to want to make sure that thing looks solid, right? This guy used to be an electrician or a plumber, and he's not going to want that stud in the middle of that bay.
That's
So
fair.
you're constantly trying to learn their
Yeah,
quirks.
their work-
I call them quirks, but
But you're just trying to like his job. It's his way. So it's his house, right? You're just there to supply him with the best frame job you can. Which I'm not going to sacrifice the structure for your
Aesthetic.
aesthetic, right?
Yeah.
But if you want this moved over here in that certain way, or you want this block turned that direction, or no problem, we'll do whatever you want. Just you got to let us know, you know.
but we do get. I mean, you do get into stuff where they want us to make it a certain way, but structurally,
Doesn't
it
work.
just doesn't work.
yeah. There's been quite a few of those.
Yeah, you just have to hey, I have to send. You have to just show them, and then normally once you show them, it's good. But they're good. But
Yeah. Well, we ran into that big house too, and it exactly what we told them was going to happen happened, wasn't it?
which one?
The Clifton house. We were spanning 2x12,
Oh,
20
yes.
feet in there. We say, hey, that's going to sag
Oh yes.
2x12s, 20 feet in
over
in
the whole garage. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I said yes.
Oh, because he wanted 2x12s instead of LVLs.
Well, technically, it wasn't the builder doing it; it was the
Engineer.
But I looked at the plans, saw what it called for, and I said, hey, you sure this is good? Would you just verify for me on that? And oh yeah, engineer said no problem, all good. I said, okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, and please sign here that I did. Double
Well,
check.
that's what,
Yeah.
that's what Tom, because Tommy calls me and says, "Hey, this is not." Tom's like, I seen the writing on the wall. I said, "Well, get with the superintendent. They can get with." So then I call after Tommy tells me all this. I was like, "Hey, let me get on the phone." So I call him and say, "Hey," and I fired off an email. "Hey, we're good. Sure enough, Tommy's gone. We get called back out. So I'm in a meeting out there, and they're like, "Hey, we need to address this." And I was waiting for him to like
Be
come
hot.
at us like, "Hey, y'all did something." I was like, we were ready. But no, they were like, "Hey, we know it's extra, but we're most likely going to have to address this because it's doing what Tommy said it was going to do.
That's always nice when that happens.
Well,
your
it's
guy
not-
was right.
No, you don't really want to push our engineers that much. 'Cause
Yeah.
they'll come back and find something
Yes,
that you had no clue was even there, and then they'll get you for it.
it's about engineers and architects have lots of ego, so it's about managing that.
I've learned that
Ego.
everyone in building has lots of.
Well,
ego.
that too, but they have an eccentric. I guess they have what's the word? They have the power. Maybe that's what
They
get-
have the paper certificates.
Yes, and then they
Yeah.
can it's like Tommy will be like, "Hey, this or that," and then next thing you know, they're frustrated because Tommy did something. Well, Tommy's like, "Well, I put that beam here because of this, that, and the other," and then they get frustrated, and you're like,
Well, that happened at Baird House too, right?
"Yes, yeah."
Yeah, what was that, like a double 8-foot pocket door or something?
And they wanted like two
Double
2x6s or
8
something
foot.
crazy, and then we were like,
It was a twin 8-foot pocket door.
So
it
it was 16 feet span.
Yeah, so the whole span was 16 feet, but it was only 8 foot open, right? But you could slide them completely
Yeah.
gone. And I think he had double 2x12s in it, triple
something.
2x12s in the header. And I was like, I don't think that's going to work. So I had the builder order me some 16-inch LVLs. I had the room for them, so I slapped them in there, right? Put a triple 16 in there. Should be plenty to hold that thing, right? Granted, this house had triple 2-foot LVL valleys because it was a full tile roof,
Oh, jeez.
but there was a lot of load coming down on
Yeah,
it.
there
That's
was
why you upsized
And
it.
he literally drew a brace on top of that door header, and I put all the braces exactly where he showed them because they'll do that on the structural plans, right? They'll show you where they want their point loads. So I put it right where he said, and he goes, "What's that LVL doing right there?" I was like, "Well, you had that point load right there with that 38 foot valley, and that's the only one on the whole valley.
Yeah.
I figured there's gonna be quite a bit of weight there." He goes, "Well, and the computer didn't say it needed it there, but that's a good job."
Yeah.
And then he hammered us on something else. And
We
were
went
like,
in
"What
the
is-"
other room, and there was, like, once again, that barrel breezeway thing. I did not want to load this big tile roof on top of that barrel because I did not think it was good enough for it. Like, I was afraid it was going to oval it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I had extra LVLs. So I ran some LVLs across that open span and just put like a little leg on the center of that barrel. So I took like half the load off of that thing. And he goes over there and he's like, "What's that? What are those doing up there?" I said, "Well, I didn't want to oval the
Yeah, and just we're talking barrel roof is just like a
just
wine
half
barrel.
circle."
Yeah, half circle.
I said I didn't want to oval it, so I added the LVLs up there just to pick up some more load. Well, I'm gonna have to put that in my computer. Okay. He comes back 2 days later and says, "You need to add another LVL up there. You didn't put enough." I'm like, "You had none to begin with."
So we had to, and it wasn't an easy task.
No, it was already.
It was.
Oh yeah, it was bad.
It was a mess. So that's where it's like,
Yeah, you don't make them mad because they come back and they make you get in the trenches.
yes. So that's what you're delicately walking that path of getting information from them, and then also too, like, hey, I'm pointing out a mistake, or not a really mistake, but just you're trying to. It's not that you're trying to. We're not trying to
Act like
get anybody
we're
in
smarter
trouble
than
or
them or
anything.
something,
We're just
yeah.
trying to make sure that, hey, we don't have to come back.
Yeah.
We
that's
don't
the
come
main.
back. Yeah.
That's what I don't. I mean, Tommy cannot. Your most hated tool is the Sawzall.
Oh yeah, I hate that.
And so it's like he doesn't. So
I had to take Peter a sawzall for a demo job the other day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of sawzalling. I mean, like a lot of sawzalling.
it was a big, like a tornado, like tore apart. So it wasn't a mistake. It was just a damn, like,
Micro burst.
Yeah.
Like flipped this.
Just gotta take chainsaw over there. Done.
That would have been better.
it would have been. I didn't think about it.
That
I
would've
didn't
been
have
better.
it. I should have called Tommy Woods.
I only got 7.
So, in a dream world, how does a job site flow with you guys, right? So, you're running a crew, you got a project. Kevin, I guess the bids come in, or estimates start with you, and then you sub out Tommy. How does this work?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically we're Tommy's help. He helps me run. What is there, 8 crews, and so he helps me manage those 8 crews, and then also he runs an actual crew, and then he's on basically the high ends, all the technical high end work, and that's.
Let's say it all depends. Is it my actual job that we're talking about, or is it the one that I'm helping with?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I don't see Kevin for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Sometimes into those jobs, or if I ever see him at all, he's like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, he's got it. Just
Yeah.
go do your thing."
Well, that's what it, I mean. It truly is. That for me, it's like Well, like whenever you were telling me, hey, I just kind of threw the wolves, and it was like, hey, it's a compliment. For me, it's a compliment if you don't see me a whole lot. Is that because I have full trust that you've got it under control?
Well, one thing me and Kevin have is that I can literally call him and say, hey, this, and that. What do you think? Yeah, let's do it this way. And we both know exactly what we're talking about, right?
That's cool.
Yeah, it's like
we're on the same page when we're talking about something like that. So it's not like he has to drive all the way to Zephyr to go look at the problem. I can explain it to him, and he gets it. Oh, yeah, okay, no problem.
Yeah.
or even at the worst case, we FaceTime.
Yeah.
That is like the technology now. I FaceTime with Nacho the other day. That was the first time, and I was like, turn the cam. I was like, so we were trying to figure out how to fake, because I was trying to the SkyTrack broke down, so we were trying to figure out to make sure that. Anyway, I was trying to help problem solve.
Not ours, the rental.
Yeah, the rental. Yeah, the rental.
Don't mess with Tommy and SkyTrack.
Or any of us. Yeah, it's like the. But
I try to make this.
do you like the timber stuff, or like those top high end houses, or like when we did those apartments here in town? Or do you like having a big apartment commercial site, or you like both? You're like, hey, I like to mix it up.
No, I mean I like the commercial sites. That was fun. I mean, just having what was there 6 crews at some points there running.
Probably about 30 guys.
Yeah, running and gunning nonstop on that stuff. That was fun.
How many thousand square feet were those?
That one was only what, 80,000 feet?
It was like 90, something like that.
Yeah.
85, 90.
Where was that?
Behind Big Lots.
Oh, yeah.
It's those 8 buildings,
Yeah.
3 stories tall.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. So that's a lot different energy than going to some big mansion with a bunch of beams that you're there for.
Yeah,
months.
the tolerance is a lot looser on those things.
Yeah, it's more production.
Yeah.
And
Painters will fix it.
Well, not really. You don't let's say go that far into it. Like you don't want to. It's a 3-story building, so you don't want to be that loose on things. But it's still like
it's rough carpentry.
Yeah, it's not finish timber work, right? That needs to be all tight and clean. Like I could spend. How long were we at the apartments? 3 months, 2 months?
I think you were there for about 4 months. I think during the full heavy.
Yeah, well, plus we lost a week and a half for that ice.
Yeah,
below freezing.
It was about 4 months, but yeah.
But you could do that, and I've been in a big job for at least that long before, big custom.
Yeah,
job.
I think you did. Like we did one in Eastland for 6 months. Wasn't that one for the McClure's?
The one
6 months.
Yeah.
Just west of Desdemona with the timber over the hill. It's like you come in, it's flat, and then the house. It's 1 story in the front, and then you get into it, and it drops down, or 2-story overlooking the hills. No,
I don't remember which one.
it's a lot of timber.
I don't know what the one in Desdemona. I mean,
remember.
Kevin's house. How long were we at your house when we did all that timber there?
I don't know.
Because I didn't do much actual framing on your house. It was all timber work mostly.
What was it? 2 months.
Something like that. I mean,
Yeah,
but that was all old stuff too. So that adds a lot of.
And I
time.
kept pulling you off though on that too. I kept like.
Oh yeah, because it was your house. You could
Yeah, we
pull
kept
stuff
like
on.
pulling and going.
Water don't get mad that way.
So how big is your crew? How
Right
many
now
guys?
it's me and 2 guys.
Is it Junior and Christian?
No, it's Mike and Christian.
Okay. And when you're doing timber work, I guess, do you even have capacity to have a lot of guys if there's a custom timber job? Because there's not much work to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of notching. So there's a lot of chisel work involved, right? So you got to have guys there to help. I guess necessarily for the weight,
Right.
is the main reason we got to have guys there. Which SkyTrack helps a lot, but you still got to be able to control it, right? So most of the time when we're doing a lot of like time-consuming tenons or mortises, it's more standing around.
What's that term? Tenons and mortise. What is that vocabulary?
Mortise is a hole that accepts the tenon inside the timber.
Okay. And all of that is hand done?
Well, I've had chain mortise for now. We used to do it with hole saws and chisels, but I got a nice chain mortise for now, so that sped up production a little bit.
That's cool. Is that, I mean, just basically a small chainsaw?
It's about a 1-inch wide chainsaw that can go, I think it tries about 6 inches deep.
Is it like the one that's so it mounts on top and it just slide,
Yeah,
so it
it's like
stays keeps it true and square all the way down?
Yeah, it's like a chainsaw and a drill press put together.
That's cool. That's way cool.
Yeah, but like the chain is 1 inch wide, so it's not like a little 3/8 chain. It's literally eating material out of there.
Okay, so with this kind of timber, and let's say the scissor trusses at the house in Morgan Mill, um, are there any screws, glue? Is it just mortised and tenon together?
It's more of a hybrid, I think. At Kevin's house, there's a lot of tenon,
Uh-huh.
mortise and tenon stuff, but a lot of that's structurally screwed together. Did we do any pegs on your house? I don't think we
I
did.
don't
any
think
pegs.
we did any pegs.
I think everything on Kevin's house was all timber locked into place, or
They were concealed,
Right.
but
like
that-
all his rafters above, all those are screwed top down from the bird's mouth. Pretty much every beam is tied into your post. I think I might have done your front porch as more like an actual tenon top to it.
yeah, because I think there is a couple of pegs out there, but
I don't think they're pegged. I think I tenon them to keep them from twisting because they were so bad.
oh yeah, you're right.
That's another thing too. It helps keep the twists and stuff. You kind of lock that post in place, right? It can't go anywhere when you use that method. Like it's stuck. Like it's going to be there in that position.
If it tries to twist, it just tightens into the hole. Yeah.
It seems to I don't know. It really does work as far as locking it all in for long term. Like, because that one we're doing right now in Zephyr, that's true mortise tenon with oak pegs.
That's more of a traditional timber frame.
With the oak pegs, you just use big drill bit, put it in, and then pop a dowel in.
Yeah, just a 1-inch piece of oak.
That's so cool.
And then there's no screw.
You get all your strength from your lumber, right? So depending on if your tenon's in compression or tension, tells you where to drill your hole, how long to make it, how wide it needs to be. There's just a lot of factors that go into it, right? Like the compression and tension loads are big factors when you're doing timber, because you gotta know which one is which. Because if you mess it up and you put a compression tenon on a tension load, it'll rip itself right out of that peg.
Right.
So you got to make sure you know which one is which.
You guys have any stories on that?
No.
No, that's not the
I
story.
don't
Knock
have
on
any
wood.
stories on
Yeah.
that.
Doc, so far
Yeah.
we're doing good.
We're batting 1,000. Structure's
Yes.
still standing.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but the one at Zephyr's probably the biggest one I've ever done, I think, as far as timber frame.
Full,
Like full on mortise and tenon.
Yes.
Like full build.
because
full
everything else
truss.
has been we've been kind of progressing down this path. We kind of got into it a little bit, and then and then been learning and just progressing down this path of it was just kind of screwing it all together and bolting it together. Then you started mortising things together.
Well, I started off on the fact that I didn't like the corners because everybody used to 45 those things together, and they never looked good.
Yes,
Yeah.
it wasn't a good system, and then when it
'Cause
shrank,
you never had anything holding anything square, and then
Okay,
it was
explain what part of the house are we talking about? Like, were you talking 245s?
that front porch. Like if you're making a 90 corner on a
Okay.
porch, right, and the beam,
Yeah.
there's usually a post below it, but you could look up in the corner and you can see straight through the 45. And I hated that.
yeah, and it looks
From the beginning,
Bad.
like I don't want to do this, because you didn't matter how many times you adjusted your saw, one little bump in it and there's a hole all the way through the thing.
yes.
So I don't remember one day I was like, I'm just going to do something different. So I just did these step notches in the end of this thing, and I just slapped it together and then put 2 screws on the outside, and it was tight. The building didn't move half as much. I was like, hey, we need to do this more often, Kevin. Come look.
And then we switched it and then, of
That
course
day.
getting everybody to switch to it, getting the guys. But,
Yeah, the guys weren't too enthused about it.
but it looked now that everybody switched it. It is so much better.
Oh yeah, everybody. As soon as they did it one time, they were like, "Oh, this is."
There's
way better.
more grace, because the way you can notch it is that you're shoving it tight instead of trying to make everything just so clean. There was more grace to it too, so it was actually better.
You got more surface area that's actually touching each other, because you're going in and out and in and out, and not
yeah.
just one straight cut all the way
It's a
through.
lot. It's their gears that lock
Yes.
together.
Because and then when you 45 them too, like even when you put a screw in it, try to tie it together, the thing would move all of a sudden, and you have to take the screw back out again.
Not
It
be
was just-
square. And,
Yeah, it was just a disaster. I
This
thought.
way, what we're doing now is so much better.
So
the whole path started because of a 45 cut on a beam.
It did, and then now we're like, and we've progressed. I think we're like this is like you said, this we've progressed the furthest on this.
Do you think you've built your own market together? Like before, you're just 45 and it like you don't have your own, even the confidence to say we can try something, and so then your consumers are not even aware that more is available. Mm-hmm. And so, do you feel that there's more timber work now because you've done more, and then the more that comes, just customers are pushing your limits, and then you're pushing your own limits? Like, how's it working?
Growth, I think, right there.
I would say, yeah, I think it's both. I think it's right now the architects are putting it in the plans that are being presented, but then also too, I do think because we show them stuff, we'll show owners, owners or GCs will say, "Hey, this is what we're looking for," and Tommy will whip out his phone, be like, "This is what we've done," or myself as well, and then it's boom, all of a sudden, we're instead of just doing a beam, we're doing full trusses, and
Yeah.
so I think it's a combination of both.
Is it, you think? I mean, it's good for business. You're presenting a new service to the market.
I think it's we're able to be the more specialized reputation of.
I mean, like the Zephyr job now. I mean, Texas Timber Framers is an awesome company. They CNC'd all their stuff together, right? And this homeowner knew about that, but he wanted the fact of the store to be able to tell, like, nope, my timber framer sat right there, and he made every bit of that piece, every piece of that he made. He wanted that to be the story.
It was
for
narrative,
that house, right? Like he made every piece right there in front of my driveway.
That's cool.
Right? He's like, I know about Texas Timber Framers, but I didn't want, like, that's just made in a shop, right? I wanted you to be making them right here.
That's cool.
So that's what you're getting into that.
Are there many peers that KNH competes with of the same, like in this area, that can compete with timber?
I mean, I'm sure there's people that do timber, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know of any offhand that I could say. We're not necessarily bidding against them for just straight timber jobs either, right?
Yeah, like when we're bidding, when we're doing these high end jobs, I would say we're not. If the GC gets it, we're doing it. Uh-huh. There's not other framers bidding it.
Yeah, I mean, the only time that maybe that was a factor was in that Clifton house, because the guy that made the timber was going to install it, and then the GC told him that we would do it because we know how. Mm-hmm.
So you get into, but I'd say 80% of the time we're not even. You're the guys. We're the guy in this area. Obviously, there's, like Tommy was saying, there's guys that do it, but in our area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. So I'll acknowledge the setting that we're in. So I think anybody that's watched our YouTube videos, we have all these different locations that we've been filming at. And this location is actually my garage apartment that Tommy built. I think there was a holdup on some timber that, like some type of shipping delay. And all of a sudden, my project was 2 months down the line, and it's like, wait a second, this is a small project. Small for KNH, and Kevin's like, "Hey, Tommy, just go knock that thing out." And so I met you guys on this job. So Tommy, thanks for building my mom's future apartment.
No problem. It was the fastest 6 walls ever.
Oh my gosh. It was like the week of Thanksgiving, and it was literally 10 business days that you guys came in, built, framed, sided, dried, like done. And half of those business days, you guys didn't work until like 2 o'clock, 2:30 p.m. That was it. Mm-hmm. I was like,
I got kids to go home and see.
I know.
Yes.
Yeah. No, it was awesome. I've told people, but like when I watched you, okay, I haven't ever told you this. So growing up, you know how we have like these idols in our head, like whoever we look up to or these heroes. I used to go to Durango every summer, maybe like 6-7 summers in a row. And my mom's cousin's significant other, he was a young, like, new age hippie. He was from Vermont or New Hampshire. Mm-hmm. Introduced me to the Grateful Dead, and just total stoner, probably did a lot of mushrooms and whatever. But
great role model.
Yeah,
you went down. You said role models and idols, and you went down to mushrooms.
Yeah. Well, no, but this is what it was. So he was a framer, like, and he would do a lot of timber stuff out in Durango and ski resorts, but anyway, every day I'd see him go out, and he was, in my mind, this guy was like so awesome. And anyway, beard, everything. When you came, you reminded me of him, and I was like, the perfect weather. I'm building an addition on my house. The weather was like 60s, and it was just perfect. I was like, man, I want to build. Like, I gotta get out of my job. And so you were the reason why I even wanted to work with Kevin. And I was like, well, this guy's clearly capable of a lot of things, and he's been with Kevin for over 10 years now. Like, so what's Kevin about? And so anyway, Kevin, that's Tommy's why I was like, Kevin, I want a job. I want a job. Like, so anyway, there's that. Thanks for my career change.
No problem. Hope you enjoyed it. Or enjoying it.
Yeah.
I try to tell him he hasn't. I try to tell him, like, give it a decade and he'll, be angry old man. But he tells me he's not going to be.
No, I refuse.
Yes,
I refuse. I'm going to try to be that jolly, giddy kid forever.
I mean, you don't technically love your job every day. There's certain days when I'm just like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Well, this summer was 110 every day. That was tough.
I mean, that was hard. Yeah, that was tough. But it's not necessarily the heat. It's just like, I can't stand this homeowner anymore. I'm so tired of this job. I've got to get out of here.
What percentage of homeowners hits you like that?
It's never like I always have great homeowners. I can't say anything about homeowners being bad. It's the time frame that I'm there. You just get tired of being in the same place all the time, and then everything starts just kind of building and building and building, and you're just like, I just got to get away from here. Whether it's 2 days, something. It's got to rain. It's got to do something.
Well, you'll call me and be like, "Hey, it's time. I got to go." And then, like, usually it's something pops up, material's delayed, and then it's like, "Hey, let's run over here and let's go do something."
You just got to clear your head for a minute, because you get so entwined in the details of that house, right? Because there's so much to it a lot of times that you just can't. You got to just get away from it for a minute.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I guess that's why you need hobbies, right?
Yeah, to help.
You get out of that.
That's what I think. It's like I consider myself fortunate that we, 3 or 4 days out of the week, I'm fired up to go to work. But there's some days, there's a day, 2 days that you're just like, yesterday was one of them. When, it was just like, I don't know. Nah, I don't want to do this.
Over it.
Yes. And then the day I woke up and I was fired up.
Yeah, most Mondays you're like, man, what am I doing right now?
Yeah, why am I not?
Why am I leaving the house at 5:30 and getting home at 3:30? What is going on here?
I did leave. I went to Mason to start a job, and so I was like, I did leave, like, I don't know, 6. I was up at 5.
Yeah.
But
Growing up, I had family in Mason. Somehow distant third cut, whatever. But you were talking about scorpions and pecos. Mason was the only place I've ever been stung by a scorpion. Hate that place.
I hate them.
It's crazy how scorpions do that, huh?
Yes.
I've just learned yesterday or last week that there is a new breed of scorpions that just landed at Central Texas, like the most venomous scorpions in the world. They're here. They decided to pick up residence. Did you know that scorpions are amphibious, that they swim and they will not drown?
I did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
So they swim across the ocean or what?
I don't know. You can't flush them down the toilet. They'll come through your toilet into your house.
I did not know that. So you got to kill them.
Oh yeah, smash them.
Yeah, you're pretty like smash them. But
Love it. All right. Let's talk about the future of framing. Right, so even like we made a video the other day about California corners and ladder blocking, and just framing is evolving. And you have these figures on who's the guy on YouTube that everybody likes to talk about?
Risinger,
yeah. Or even like who are the Builder Brothers out in Utah? Anyway, like it seems like there's a desire to improve, to better, the stereotypes of 80s, 90s framers is not true of today. Like, What do y'all see is happening in framing moving forward? Anything?
I think the awareness of
Insulation,
insulation,
Air
waterproofing, like
What
how
are air brakes?
well, like air braking, like what do they call it? Draft.
yeah.
It's where you're trying to keep that air outside from being inside, right? So like California corners, that's a big step in that direction, right? Making sure your corners are tight. Ladder blocking is another big step.
And that's not California corners and ladder blocking is not new.
No,
It's
they've
been
been
around,
forever.
but we all switched. But it kind of got switched to where you did things like you were stacking, doing it different with like 3 studs instead of 1. But that and so because it was better for sheetrock. But now we've switched back to it because of insulation purposes. Everybody's wanting to insulate more, not have any air gaps anywhere.
I mean, it's structural stuff. Like an actual return is probably stronger in your wall, but you're also losing a lot of R value because you're adding 2 more studs where they technically don't need to be, right? So you're losing a lot, and you don't have that thermal break at that point. So there's ladder blocks in California corners. I try to do them all the time on exterior walls. Interior walls, I'm probably going to go right back to returns just because I like the fact that my sheetrock
Is better.
is solid in that corner.
Yes.
Whether it's kids' rooms, all that stuff. Like I want to make sure it's as solid as possible where it needs it, right? But exterior, you want that insulation to try to, especially here in Texas, you got to keep the heat out.
Mm-hmm.
Like if your AC's running, you're not helping anything.
And I think that, and then I think at least on our end, what me and Tommy and I, is really understanding how the water, like
Liquid flashing. We're starting to liquid
like
flash.
always the
siding
waterproofing out, just waterproof. Run the right counter flashings, run the right Z flashings, making sure there's kick out flashing. That's probably our biggest.
Sloping your seals.
Yeah, sloping all those things. So I'd say it's more exterior that we're kind of down. Now I kind of go in phases of learning. It's usually where we get like, I run into problems and then I'm like, hey, how do we solve that? How do we, we had a window leak. We got into a big mess on a window leak. Well, then it was like, hey, how can we solve this? How can we make sure we don't have this again? And then we've started Z flashing and taping and
How long has the stretch tape been around? The zip stretch tape.
I don't know, a couple years.
I just
I
saw
don't know
that.
how long exactly's been around because like it started with like Tyvek. Tyvek had that stretch tape for a while.
Florida Flash stuff or something.
They've had it out for a while, but everybody now is like really. I say everybody you can go to pilot. I don't know if that's everybody because there's a lot of people that don't do it, but a lot of higher end homes, especially. But all even if you're high end or not, we're doing it now. It's just flashing and waterproofing because that's the number one lawsuit thing is water damage, and so it's like you can spend an extra $1,000 for extra back like the stretch tape, the silicone, the good tape. And so that's a whole other thing. You can go down the tape, you can go down a rabbit trail of taping. The zip tape's the best that we have found, and so, but I've gotten to where we don't like Tommy and I don't put any the zip wall system or true Tyvek. What's it? Was it Home Guard?
Yeah, if you're Home Guard or any of that other stuff,
the woven fabrics
does absolutely nothing.
Yeah,
it's just junk. So I prefer the zip the best in it. But
yeah, zip is nice because, but depending on how long the house is going to sit in that condition, right? If it's a spec house and you're throwing it up and it's going to have siding on it within a week of being framed, then yeah, Tyvek's probably fine because it's not sitting there getting beat on. The wind's not, bleaching it, all of this stuff. Like it's fine. Tape sticks really good to it. It actually seals, right? As long as it's installed correctly, it's going to do its job.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's a big, massive, custom home that's probably going to be open, or if it's a rock house, zip is definitely the way to go because even when they penetrate for all their, their rock clips, what do they call them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the
mason guides.
Brick ties. Yeah.
I mean, they're going to put a nail all over the place and that stuff and that. If you think about Tyvek, it's having all these penetration now. Did they use cap nails on any of that stuff?
Yep.
Yeah. So
your OSB's getting wet in those points, and rock is not waterproof. It leaks water. That's why they have wick holes at the bottom.
Yeah.
That's what I like about the customers we work for, they're willing to spend the extra to go the extra mile to do some of these waterproofing things.
No, because I mean, it's not just us that are having to come back and fix it; it's the builder that's having to.
Yeah,
do
it's
all that.
everybody. And then if
So, I
you
mean,
know,
we've got good builders that actually take our inputs. You know, be like,
seriously,
oh, hey, that's a good idea. Let's do that. It's may cost a little more front end, but let's do that. It's going to save us, right?
Yeah.
Give the customer a better home, everything else.
and I think that like the awareness of like with the internet and things, the awareness when a customer asks us a question, you have to assume that they probably already got the answer.
Oh yeah, they've been looking at YouTube.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
and some of the stuff's on YouTube is great, and some of it you're just like it's not applicable to this situation, but you have to really pay attention. And it really, what it's all done is you're having to. Used to, it was very, what would you call it? Cowboyish. Just we're just out there
Shoot from the hip.
just going. Now we're having to really pay attention, especially too. We're getting into more high end jobs where
We've talked about the professionalism of the trade.
yes,
Like we're you guys are professionals.
Yeah, there's nobody shirtless out there at my job.
yes.
Can you not be a shirtless framer and still be a professional?
You can, but I mean,
the
you have
the
the mustache too. I'm saying.
yes. But I think that like especially our jobs that we're on now, we're being held like we either have engineers, architects, and then also we have to really pay attention to how we're in specs, how we're doing it, how we're installing it. We're doing it to their specs because it's good or bad. You're being held to all that. Like they're going to be able to walk you back to that if something went wrong.
Yeah.
They're going to hold you to that stuff. So I think on some aspects it's good because it's causing the industry to move towards that, and sometimes it's like
Overkill.
yes,
Well, I mean, I watched some of the Rise in Your videos, and he's doing 2 foot on center studs, you know, and his headers, like he doesn't want to put his headers here because he loses insulation value, so he's like not even putting headers anywhere, which is fine. But if you want to spend the extra money to put a truss in every header, then that's fine, right? If you want to do that, right? But that's probably not for everyone, right?
Right.
Well, that's probably the biggest thing is like in YouTube, people are coming to why are we not doing it this way? Because
That's a $7 million house.
exactly
Yeah,
like
but
you know,
they're not
you
gonna
have
tell you that, right?
yeah you have to like hey we're working on a $500,000 or $700,000 house. You're watching videos of stuff on like you said, $7 million house, so you can spend these extra. You can go these different extra lengths of doing things.
It's a different game book.
Yes.
I mean, even in our
Yes.
framing, though, there's different aspects as far as like levels of homes, right? Like, and it's not necessarily what we want to do. Like, we'd love to give everybody the highest
Yes.
possible job, right? But a lot of times, constraints is the budget, or
It's not like I wouldn't say it's like the craftsmanship essay would be like in the tank, but just different aspects of homes, prices of homes depend on the types of materials you can use, different things.
I mean,
and
simple thing is just like rafters, 2 foot on center, 16s, right? That's just that alone cuts your rafter cost in what 20%.
yes, which 2 foot's allowed. It's all in code. It's
Yeah.
all good. But hey, on higher end homes, you usually go 16 centers, and you usually go 5/8 decking, if
Yeah.
not 3/4 inch
Yeah,
decking.
so I mean that's like you can add a lot of things. Like we'd love to give everybody a 16 on center house with 5/8 decking, 3/4 decking. That's going to give you the flattest roof possible. That's going to make everything super strong. You're not going to see any kind of waves in any of that stuff. But a lot of times that's not in the budget, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll 2 foot on center is plenty. Like there's nothing wrong with 2 foot on center.
With 7/16 decking.
7/16 or 7/16 decking. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not. If you're putting shingles on a house, it doesn't matter at that point, right? But if you're putting tile on that thing, you need to go to 16 on center and you need to upgrade your decking because
Mhm.
you're going to see the repercussions of cutting that cost, especially when you're putting a high dollar tile roof on it.
Yes.
Like that's not somewhere you want to skimp on. Is that
Yeah.
in that area,
You're gonna end up buying more tile.
Yes.
or maybe some sheetrock and stuff after the tile came through.
That's funny.
Yes.
I don't remember what the actual number is, but that tile was heavy.
It's heavy, very heavy. Normally they always upsize it to like 2 by 8 rafters, don't they?
Normally, yes,
Yeah,
at least
it's
2
always-
eighths, and
How-
sometimes double purlins. And
How old is LVLs? How long have LVLs and laminated beams been around?
That's a question. I
I don't know how long.
land beams I know.
Land
in
beams
the
are around for
80s.
a long time.
I mean, a long time. LVLs, I don't know. I
So
went to
this
their.
this is a 31-foot span, and there's 4 24-inch LVLs. And so you were telling me like each one is about 600 pounds, so 2,400 pounds. Like 10 years ago, 20 years ago, how accessible would that have been?
That'd have been a land beam.
What's the difference between an LVL and a land beam?
We could have put the land beam up there with the way we did it.
Because
It had a crane.
You did have to have a crane to set it up there.
Right.
Because the land beam would have been 7.5 wide by 24 inches tall,
Right.
and it would have weighed. How much would that land beam weigh?
I don't know what it weighed,
1,500
but
pounds.
But
yeah,
what's the difference? A land beam and an LVL? It's just
Like
an
a can-
LVL
like a,
is the same, but just smaller, right?
No, laminated veneer lumber, right? It's just pressed together.
it's plywood.
Yeah,
Like it's like a
structural plywood.
yeah, it's like a structural plywood glued, pressed.
Ah.
Land beam is a 2 by material that has just been glued,
and pressed
stacked.
together.
And-
Yeah.
But they see like a land beam will come cambered with pre-cambered on it, and so then you're trying to like
You got to make sure you load it enough to get the camera out of it for it to be straight.
yes, and so like LVLs are made they're straight, so then it deflects. But there's a formula, they
Yeah, that's
like
how-
like a beam like this would. What tolerance is 3/4 of an inch? I think is what that will. It will sag 3/4 of an inch before it's considered. If it goes an inch, it may be like I don't know the exact numbers, but there's always a number. Hey, it can sag 3/4. It's not considered filling.
Right.
So your deflection rate.
Yeah, 3/4
So-
deflection. Yeah.
But I like LVLs. It's just easier. It's number one, man. It's not as backbreaking, and then the camber thing. Like you're not trying to.
We've got builders that want land beams, and we try to talk them out of they just don't trust LVLs. So it's just it's a pick your poison kind of thing, right?
Sure.
So
Yeah, and they're not. It's just
it's not like there's anything wrong with land
No.
beams. Like we use them both all the time. Like those arch ones, those are all land beams. It's just I prefer LVLs because they're easier to handle. You don't have to worry about the preload to it, right? 'Cause
Right.
like you're trying to put your rafters up there, and they're all the same. For some reason, these middle two aren't fitting right.
it's got a
It's
camber.
the
Yeah.
camber in the middle, right? We got to make sure we leave that kind of open-ish or not change them so it will pinch down the level eventually, right? Once it loads.
Well, and like if you've got certain architects want or owners, they'll want a like you can get they're called clear land beams, and they're just there's no joints in them, but you'll see the stacks like there'll be a joint, but they're really good. They'll stain them.
Oh yeah.
So
there's
there's applications for them. Like hey, if we're going to leave them exposed, you do it. But but LVLs, if you're just wrapping them, it's so much, or they're going to be concealed.
So with barn doors, the last 10 years exploding in popularity, and there's now more mixed with metal and wood construction framing together. You guys see any creativity, like what could be done here, or container homes, or I mean I don't know, like just random questions with future of framing.
Depends on the barn though. We did one in Brownwood that what did Steve Browder say? It cost double.
Yeah, I think so, or pretty close to it.
But that was kind of an overthinking issue, I think, on everybody's part on that one because they ran everything like it was going to be sheathed metal barn, and then we were just going to put walls inside. And then he said, well, we need to put plywood in there too. So then we had to put plywood and shove it in there because he didn't want the insulation to be on the outside wall. So it was a big kind of fiasco thing and not really knowing what they wanted and changing it and everything
The
else.
barn dough thing is people misconception. People think the barn dough is going to be cheaper, and it's only cheaper if you do like just a square box.
If you live in a barn.
yes,
But
it's a
if
barn.
you turn it into a home, it's no longer a barn.
And it becomes.
I mean, you might save it. You get your nice big open span for probably less money, but you still have to frame inside of it. So
that's where I think it's equitable. If you're doing like an
a huge
industrial
open-
fill
Mhm.
and a big spans, like he said.
Yeah, like that one we did in the Clifton again. That had that huge game room that was like 40 feet.
Uh-huh.
That was just this open expanse area, right? Like you couldn't to do that in lumber. It's almost impossible.
Yes.
Especially with the the way they wanted it. Pretty much
Does
impossible.
big span start around 40 feet in y'all's mind?
40 feet's pretty much max on 2-foot LVLs, right?
No, I think it's like
36 feet.
36. 36
Anything
feet.
over 36 feet,
It's got to go to steel,
It's got to go to steel. So
Okay.
at that point, you're pushing limits.
and that's really on a. I mean, like, what was that one you're doing right now in Zephyr? How far is it?
36.
It is that. It is theirs. Yeah. Well, it really depends on. There's a whole lot of factors depending on when you got to go to steel.
Math.
Lots of math, but I think it's like, I think people they think it's going to be, but
Well, barn doors, container home, same way. Like if you're going to do a container home and actually finish it and it looks like a container, yes, you probably save some money because you just took the foundation out of it, right? Like you don't have to worry about the foundation. And if you're gonna leave it as a container, you don't have any siding in it. You don't have any exterior finish anymore, right? So that's done. But you gotta like putting a window in a container, how much harder that is than just throwing it on a wood wall.
Yeah.
Like you've got to cut the hole, and then you've got to re-weld this frame back into it. So you can put some wood in there so you can attach your window, right? So there's a lot that goes to it. Like my buddy did one in Eastland, and I helped him put a roof on it, and I would not recommend doing that.
How big of a home did it end up being?
It was 6 containers put in a U area.
Uh-huh.
And you had a big open expanse in the middle, so we did trusses over the center. But I think it was like 3,200 total.
that's a,
It's a pretty big home, right? But
Yeah.
he's got one big living room, and then every room under that is tiny because it's container size, right?
Yeah.
So
10 foot.
yeah.
or 8, was it
Or
8 feet?
9.
Well, they're the high cubes, where they're 9.2-ish.
Oh, okay.
9 something inside.
Yeah.
I mean, 9-foot ceiling's fine, but you still got to sheetrock the ceiling, so you still got to drop it a little bit to put your insulation
by
and your
material.
2x material in there to do your sheetrock. So by the time you're done, you're under 9 feet, I'm pretty sure. So it's everybody can do it.
It's all narrative.
Yeah, it's all what you think. Like he's dead set on that because he's a welder, right? He could do a lot of that stuff himself, right? So it's the look that you're going for is what's gonna make something make sense to you, right?
And your skill set.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah,
Me-
yeah.
I'm not
If
a
you're
welder.
DIY it, or if you're,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then also too, like when you're doing a barn dough and you're just doing like walls and 10 sheets on top, no overhangs, that saves a lot. And you're not going to sheet underneath the porches. That's when barn doughs become cheaper because it's just tin, I-beam, and concrete. All of a sudden, your porches are super cheap. But then now it's becoming very popular. Well, I want to cover all it because it does look better. Cover it all with metal and all, and it becomes way more cost more. But then you get people that are like, well, less maintenance. Okay, then you're back down to you got big spans, or I want less maintenance. Well, okay, those are factors to go down those paths. But if it's for cost, there's no. I get into where there's not really much cost difference anymore.
No, I don't think so.
So
Well, especially when you do a barn dough and they're wanting to 1x6 their ceiling, right? So now you got to lave it, which is
yeah.
not easy, and then you
No.
got to go in there and you got to put all the 1x6 on it. You got to redo all this stuff. So a lot of times it's just a wash on most
Yes.
things.
if not just a hair more at times. So, but
Got any closing thoughts, Kevin? KNH Construction. We're here for your timber and framing needs.
yes, yes.
Well, Tommy,
So-
thank you so much for coming, man. It's awesome. Thanks for building my garage.